Hello, Cor Unum cohort. Welcome to week 2 of our philosophy class on knowing and being. We're still in knowing. We haven't gotten to being yet. Remember last time we talked about ideas, kind of those fundamental building blocks of our knowing. We're going to take a step forward and we're going to connect some ideas. What happens when you connect one idea to another? Say cat and furry. You get a judgment. The cat is furry. Throughout this PowerPoint, we're going to call this, these are going to be called judgments. We're also going to call them beliefs. We all hold many beliefs or judgments. The cat is furry. The dog is big. I am sleepy. Notice all of those are connections of ideas of some sort. So let's dive in on this topic of judgments or beliefs, and let's just get a general idea of what we're talking about to start. All right, a general initial explanation here of what we mean by judgments or beliefs. Their general nature. Well, a belief or a judgment is the affirmation or denial of some connection between things or properties. Or it's the affirmation or denial that something exists, or that some state of affairs obtains or happens to be. So for example, the cat is on the mat affirms that a certain feline is positioned on a certain mat. No cats are alligators. That denies that the set of cats in any way overlaps with the set of alligators. Just as our discussion of ideas focused on the smallest units of cognition, judgments are the connecting and disconnecting, either in whole or parts, of those smallest units. Maybe we can get at this better by looking at the 4 kinds of judgments. There are 4 judgment forms. Particular judgments. This is probably the simplest. In a particular judgment, we say that some property or identity is affirmed or denied of some individual person or thing. There's the key on this one. Individual. Some property or some identity is affirmed or denied of some individual person or thing. So for example, Claire is an American. So we take the individual Claire and we're affirming the property of being an American. Or Wisconsin winters are harsh, right? Wisconsin winters, the particular thing, and we're affirming their harshness. Or Clarence is a silly person. So, okay, particular judgments of particular things. We can broaden that out. A second form of judgment would be categorical judgments. Now, all we do is we move from individuals as the topic here, to members of a category, right? So in a categorical judgment, some or all members of a category of individuals is included in or excluded from membership in another category of individuals. So think of baskets that partially overlap or don't, right? So for instance, as an example, we might say all Wisconsinites are Americans, right? So you have the category of Wisconsinites, and we would say that category overlaps, right? All of those Wisconsinites are also in the category of Americans. Or you could say falsely, no Wisconsinites are Americans, and the 2 categories would be completely separated. Or some Wisconsinites are Americans, and you'd have kind of a partial overlap of the 2 categories. Or some Wisconsinites are not Americans. You'd have a different kind of overlapping. So all we've done here from 1 to 2 is go from particular individuals and affirming or denying something of individuals to now categories of individuals, groups of individuals. With this number 2 form of judgment, think if you remember Venn diagrams. Right? Venn diagrams illustrate graphically these categorical judgments. So I Googled funny Venn diagrams, and I thought this one was just kind of ironic, right? So on the left you have the yellow one, the circles, and on the right, diagrams. And wherever circles and diagrams overlap, they're Venn diagrams. If you don't get why that's funny, never mind. I found it hilarious. In any case, these are categorical judgments, right? This would say something like, you could say as a categorical judgment, some circles are Venn diagrams, right? That would be the green part. You could say some circles are not Venn diagrams, right? That would be the yellow part. Some diagrams are Venn diagrams. That would again be the green part. Hopefully you can see that. I thought another cool Venn diagram, since you're all coming back to classes now, is this one for final exams. What is that pinkish salmon color? Things in this course, right? And then the purple inside of it is things I studied. So the categorical statement there, the categorical judgment for this could be something like all things I studied are things in this course, right? Or some of the things in this course are things I studied, right? But then there's that nasty green one, things on the exam, and there's that tiny little overlap. You know, here's the joke, right? Tiny little overlap that some of the things on the exam were just a little bit of what's in the course, but none of it was what I studied. So another categorical judgment here would be none of the things on the exam were things that I studied. Okay, so hopefully you get this idea. We've moved to affirming some relationship between categories of things. Well, we can look at a third form of judgment, right? This one would be hypothetical, or we could call them conditional or if-then judgments, right? The idea is that one state of affairs is said to be a sufficient condition for another state of affairs holding true. This is just your typical if-then. For example, if Claire is a Wisconsinite, then she is an American, right? That's a if-then judgment. If Claire is a Wisconsinite, then she is an American. Or you could say, if Claire is a Wisconsinite, then she is not an American. Now, one of those would be true. One of those would be false, right? Oh, so we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves that these judgments can be true or false. We could say another one, if the corporate tax rate is lowered, then the economy will improve, right? So people could argue about the truth of these hypothetical judgments. Or as St. Paul says, if the Lord is not raised, your faith is in vain. So we've got particular judgments about particular things, categorical judgments about categories of things, and now these hypothetical if-then judgments. Another kind of judgment you'll see in logic and in philosophy is what's called the disjunctive. This is the either-or, an either-or judgment, disjunctive judgment. This is a broader judgment is made that at least one of several component judgments is true. This is just your typical either-or. For example, either Claire is an American or she is a Pennsylvanian. Now, it might be that both are true, but you can have an either-or here. Either Claire is not an American or she is not, I don't know, a Wisconsinite. So this is your typical either-or. Now, hopefully you see it. We use these all just constantly in our own thinking, in our own speech. They're going to become particularly important as we look at logic going forward, that each of these different kinds of judgments has, they have to follow certain rules to move from one truth to another in logical deduction or inference. But another distinctive feature of these judgments or beliefs is that they have truth value. That is, they're said to be either true or false. Now notice the difference here with ideas, right? Cat, as an idea, is neither true nor false. That cat is neither true nor false. Blueness is neither true nor false. My perception of pain is neither true nor false. They all simply are. But when we get to these judgments, they all have truth value, either true or false, or some would add indeterminate. So for example, the moon is made of green cheese. That would be a particular judgment. That's false. That has a truth value of false. All dogs are vertebrates. That's a categorical judgment. That happens to be true. And at least some might say that there are indeterminate judgments, like the world economy will collapse in 2030. well, that's a statement about the future. We could say maybe it's indeterminate. Others would say that it is actually here and now true or false. We just don't know which it is yet. So the interesting thing here as we move forward is these judgments, they differ from ideas in that they have this truth value, that they're either true or false. When we come back, we're going to look at the topic of justification of these judgments.